I definitely felt
special.
like it had sort of a fortune telly vibe to it, and that's how I always sort of viewed it, was that, like, it'll give you a pathway for your life, and so I thought it was gonna be, like, super revelatory about, like, here's what you should do or pursue, and, like, here are your strengths and weaknesses, because I didn't know myself. I always waited for
Right? Yeah.
somebody from the church to tell me all of that stuff, but it was just ordinary, like,
Nothing.
I didn't the thing is, at the time, I was like, "Oh, this is so great." But I have to admit I was disappointed.
Yeah, I was too. So much of it seemed very vague and broad that I thought you could put anybody in that had similar talents, like that played the piano, that was outgoing, and it would fit for anyone in there. There wasn't anything specific to me that when I was reading it, it almost felt like any other blessing I got at any other time of my life,
Yeah.
you know?
Hi, everyone. I'm Megan,
And I'm Kirsten.
and together we are Ex Mormon Snark.
We're here trading our testimonies for truth bombs.
And today we are going to be spilling some Mormon tea about patriarchal blessings.
Also known as Mormon tarot. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, basically. No, that's really what it is. So patriarchal blessings. Some people have heard of these before. If you followed the Daybell case, you definitely did, because there was some super weird blessings. But
Yes.
essentially, Mormons believe that they can lay their hands upon your head and pronounce upon you a special blessing. But there is a special person called a patriarch, who's basically like the neighborhood fortune teller. And you can go to him to
Yep.
get a special blessing that is supposed to be a comfort and direction for your life. And to say the least, I was disappointed with mine. I didn't get mine until a little later in life. They encourage you to get one as soon as you are of like 12-ish-year-old age. They really want you to get
Right.
that guidance right away before you start making really important decisions, because it's
Yeah.
supposed to be like a guide for what you're going to do with the rest of your life.
Right. And you have to get a recommend for it. I haven't heard a lot of people talk about that, but you do have to go and have a bishop's interview. And the bishop has to basically say you're worthy or you're ready to receive this revelation. So it
Yeah.
does feel like a very big and important step. And, like Megan said, you get it around, once you're 12, 13, 14 is kind of when you start preparing for it. I got mine when I was like 13 or 14. And I remember feeling really proud that I was younger than my sister when she got hers. So I was like, obviously, I was spiritual and ready for it, which is so dumb.
Right.
But that was something I thought in my head that, like, obviously I'm on the right path. I'm so spiritual. I'm ready for this huge step because I got my patriarchal blessing recommend younger than some of my peers.
It is
So
definitely
stupid.
sort of like a competitive thing, because I remember
Yeah.
people asking, like, "Have you gotten your blessing yet? Have you gotten your blessing
Yep.
yet?" And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons why I didn't get my blessing as a youth, is because I didn't feel worthy. And it's not like I
Oh,
was doing anything like horribly wrong, but
yeah.
I would make out with my boyfriend sometimes and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't want to go talk to the bishop about that. So I
Yeah.
really put off getting my patriarchal blessing, and I ended up not getting it until after I was married, which is super weird. Most people who were born and
Yeah.
raised in faithful LDS families got it when they were in their early teens, early, like 12,
Yeah.
13, 14. And
Yeah.
even I remember even thinking, like, people who waited until they were 16 or 17, it's like, why didn't you get one? I'm sure
Right.
people wondered
Yeah.
that about me too.
We've talked about this before, but there is no judgment like the Mormon judgment,
Very true.
talking about people. They say it's private, or, if you need to talk to the bishop or have the repentance process where you can't take sacrament or whatever, um, they like to pretend that it's between you and God or the bishop, but it's not. Like, everybody can see it, everybody talks about it. It really
Yep.
is a quiet public shaming, you know?
Yes.
It is like
Yep.
you're not literally like shunning people, but you are seeing, oh, they didn't take the sacrament. Oh, they didn't go on the temple trip.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yep.
wow, she didn't get her patriarchal blessing yet and she's 16. Like it is a form of public shaming, in my opinion, even if they
Yep.
want to do it behind closed doors. What are they talking about when they get home from church or at mutual or the early
Yeah.
morning seminary if you don't show up? Well, you know, she didn't
Oh,
get her
right.
blessing either, and she wasn't at the last temple trip. So,
Hmm.
like, unfortunately, we've all been part of those conversations, and
Yeah,
I hate it, but
I do too.
it, it's part of the church culture, as all of the true believing Mormons will probably say.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the church, it's the church culture.
And I will say too, I used to complain about the culture all the time. And then Samuel
Yeah,
said that thing to me. He's like, the doctrine determines the culture. So the doctrine of the church says that you have to go confess your sins to the bishop. And
right.
so it does create this culture of like, have you talked to the bishop? And then there was also a
Yeah,
whole lot of public shaming that happened in the early church. Like Joseph Smith would get up from the pulpit and rebuke people for their sins from the pulpit. And
right.
also, some of their names got written into the Doctrine and Covenants because
Yeah,
God would have a revelation that was just for them. And it was God rebuking them for whatever thing they had done wrong. So it's built in and baked into the structure of the LDS Church. Public
yeah.
shaming is just part of it. This is from churchofjesuschrist.org. So if you go to a search bar and you type in lds.org or mormon.org, it's going to redirect you to churchofjesuschrist.org. And
Correct.
I actually was doing some research about how well the church scrubs the internet of things that it does not want people to see. They have surreptitiously bought up all of these old anti-Mormon websites and use the URLs
What?
to redirect them to the church. They're also really, really
Really?
good. Yes.
Wow. I mean,
Yes.
it doesn't surprise me. I just hadn't thought of it before. But I
They're
mean,
also really, really good at search engine optimization. So if you search
yeah,
anything that's mildly controversial, like the first 4 or 5 results that you're going to get are going to be from churchofjesuschrist.org. You have
right.
to dig down in order to get a non-LDS approved source. So
Correct. Yeah.
yay. So look at
Yay.
this eager young man reading his patriarchal blessing, wearing a nice, button-down shirt. I was
Yes.
always told that our patriarchal blessing was something that was sacred and private, that we should never talk about it or share it with other people.
Right.
And
Yep.
even when people would allude to it when they were giving their testimony, my parents would always say, well, she shouldn't be talking about that in public or something like that.
Oh,
Sometimes it
wow.
would get
Yeah.
shared in like a Relief Society lesson or whatever, but
Yeah.
I mean, I was taught that we were never supposed to reveal it to anybody.
Well, my family, I remember we had a family home evening where my dad, my mom, me, and my sister all read our patriarchal blessing to each other, you know.
Mm,
And what my family taught, see, just showing the different doctrine between families, even,
right.
is that if you felt impressed to share part of it, it could be something like this spirit is telling you that could like help someone else or like, you know.
Okay.
So it was okay if you felt impressed to share part of it or a sentence or two with a congregation or in a lesson or with other people. So that was always what I was brought up knowing or being told. So it's just funny how even, we grew up in, well, not grew up, we lived in the same area for a while, and
Yeah.
just how different the doctrine is taught just between families, in closed
Hmm.
doors.
Every worthy baptized member is entitled to and should receive a patriarchal blessing, which provides inspired direction from the Lord. Patriarchal blessings include a declaration of a person's lineage in the house of Israel and contain personal counsel from the Lord. A person studies his or her patriarchal blessing and follows the counsel it contains. It will provide guidance, comfort, and protection. So the declaration of lineage thing was always kind of weird to me, but this is one of those Joseph Smithy sort of things where
Yeah.
he, wanted to reinforce the fact or his belief that we were descendants of the house of Israel, and that
Right.
the people who came over to America in the Book of Mormon times were literal descendants of the house of Israel. Well,
Yeah.
now that that's been completely debunked by science and genetics,
Mm-hmm.
the church sort of doesn't give as much literal meaning to these designations of like which of the 10 tribes you belong to. But
Yeah.
I feel like that in and of itself gives it even a kitschier sort of meaning, because
Yes.
it's like not your literal, and it was supposed to be, the way it was explained to me was like your spiritual ancestors were from this tribe,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you guys were all in heaven together before you came here.
Yep. I always thought it was very weird too. I have to share this because the
You?
patriarch was in my ward. Um, and me and Megan got our blessings from the same patriarch since we were in the
Yes,
same
we did.
stake. There is only one patriarch per stake or per area. I
Per
honestly
state.
don't even know. Per stake.
Yeah, it's a stake
Um,
calling. Yeah.
so the patriarch was in my ward. So we often got to hear from him or his wife. His wife would come to Young Women's all the time to give talks or, lead a lesson. So I remember him, maybe his wife might have, no, I'm pretty sure it was the patriarch. He shared that when giving the tribe they were from, there were times he had never even heard of the tribe and it just came to him. Right. And that was the tribe that he knew was inspiration, basically bearing testimony that it was from God and not from him, because there were sometimes ones he had never heard of that just came into his mind. And I remember being like, oh, that's weird. And then one of my good friends then shared with me that she had been given a tribe she had never heard of. And none of her family was in that same tribe. And so she always thought that was very weird because she's like, if we're all genetically linked, obviously we're all from the same family. Why am I in a completely different tribe? And how then she was, I guess, told or given the apologist point of view, whatever it was, is that this was not really a literal tribe genetically. It was more what her spiritual assignment was, because each tribe had a different role and a different assignment in the millennium.
Right. Right.
What?
Right.
Like,
Well, also, I have to call BS on the patriarch saying that too, because there's only 10 tribes. And if you've read anything in the Bible or gone to seminary at all or been in church for more than a couple of years, you've heard of them all. It's not that hard.
no, Megan, no. God
Sorry, 12.
made a
Sorry,
new
12,
tribe.
not 10. There's 12.
God made a new tribe, I
Oh,
guess, specifically for those people, apparently. So there's that.
yeah, that's just super weird. Sorry. I'm
Oh,
not buying it.
why are you apologizing? You're not hurting my feelings.
Well, okay, so most people in the church would it would be revealed that their tribe was either Ephraim or Manasseh, because Ephraim was the
Correct.
tribe of like missionary work, and Manasseh
Right.
was the tribe of like helping the missionaries to do their work and building up the kingdom of
Right.
God. And so I will tell you that was the case in my family as well. And one of
Mine
my
too.
family members received a designation of the tribe of Dan, which is a rather controversial tribe. And
Yes, it
nobody else in our
is.
family had ever had it. And everybody thought of like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting and special. I wonder what that's supposed to mean for you,
Yeah.
Anyways, let's go back to seeing
Anyways,
what the church says about this, the MFMC. A patriarchal
yeah.
blessing includes a declaration of lineage stating that the person is of the house of Israel, a descendant of Abraham, belonging to a specific tribe of Jacob. Many Latter-day Saints are of the tribe of Ephraim, the tribe given the primary responsibility to lead the latter-day work of the Lord. Because each of us has many bloodlines running in us, two members of the same family may be declared as being of different tribes in Israel. It
Well,
does
isn't
not
that
matter.
special? They just gave us right there that
Yep.
it might be different. So don't
Right.
be alarmed.
Yeah, here's our out. just in
Right.
case it doesn't work out the way that genetically it should. It does not matter if a person's lineage in the house of Israel is through bloodlines or by adoption. That's a convenient little doctrine, isn't it?
Right?
I was adopted into the tribe. Church
Aw,
members are counted as a descendant of Abraham and an heir to all the promises and blessings contained in the Abrahamic covenant.
great.
Blah, blah, blah. Personal revelation, strengths, weaknesses, eternal potential, promises, admonitions, and warnings, inspired counsel. It should not be expected to answer all of the recipient's questions or to detail all that will happen in his or her life. If the blessing does not mention an important event, such as a full-time mission or marriage, the person should not assume that he or she will not receive that opportunity. As a result of this language right here, I think that blessings in general over the years have gotten less and less specific for these exact
Yes.
reasons.
Yeah, I think
Because
so
as
too.
we will talk about, people receive promises and their blessings all the time that literally do not come true. And
Yep.
it causes a lot of issues psychologically, spiritually,
Correct.
emotionally.
Yes, I have a very big story on that. I guess not big story, but I did have a friend that experienced that, and there was a lot of internal turmoil
Hmm.
and questioning, but again, just being put on the shelf for them.
Yep. Yep. Let's go on to read more of the cover your butt stuff. Similarly, the recipient of the blessing should not assume that everything mentioned in it will be fulfilled in this life. A
Right?
patriarchal blessing is eternal, and its promises may extend into the eternities. If one is worthy, that's another caveat. If one is
Yes.
worthy, all
Yeah.
promises will be fulfilled in the Lord's due time.
All I can hear in my head right now, it's the circle of life. Like,
But
if
it
not
does
now,
say, here
one
is the
time.
definitive promise, Kirsten. Those promises
Oh,
and blessings that are not realized in this life will be fulfilled in the next. And guess what? If they're not, there's no way for you to hold anybody accountable for that.
in that convenience, we can't double check. Nice.
Patriarchal blessings are sacred and personal. They may be shared with immediate family members, but should not be read aloud in public or read or interpreted by others. Guess what I'm about to do? I'm about to read mine in public.
I love
Not
that for
even the
you.
patriarch, bishop, or branch president should interpret it. Those who have received a patriarchal blessing should treasure its words, ponder them, and live to be worthy to receive the promised blessings in this life and in the life to come.
Oh my God. I just feel like it's so manipulative.
Super
Like,
manipulative. Yeah.
especially having gotten one. I don't have mine. It was in my temple bag that we've talked about many times. I gave to my
Yeah.
mother. She has since passed. I have no idea what happened to any of that. But having one, knowing what it says and like the vague speak in it, it's so manipulative because it's like, oh, you better be good. You better be good because then
For
if
goodness
stuff doesn't
sake.
happen, right? if the stuff doesn't happen, how easy is it to turn on ourselves and be like, well, what else can I be doing? What part,
yeah.
what misstep did I make that this hasn't come true? And it's something that if you're reading it constantly, usually when you're having a hard time, let's be honest, that's when you turn to it.
Yep.
It can be very much like, well, why hasn't this happened? Or is this going to happen? Or I need to realign myself. Like mine talked about specifically giving a lot of myself to in church service. So I remember always being like, okay, what else can I do? What else should I be doing? When you're asked to be, given a calling that you don't necessarily want to do. Well, my patriarchal blessing says, it's my job to have church service or make that a big part of my life. Then you're like, okay,
Yeah.
I have to do it. And then if it's a calling you don't like or that it's hard, you double down on it. What else can I be doing? I need to make this work because obviously God said I'm supposed to, it's so manipulative. It's so manipulative. I mean, mine even had a line that says, make sure you always pay a full tithing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, I mean, isn't that convenient that in your blessing, it tells you to be diligent in your church service? And because that's what they want. They want worker bees and tithe payers. And so that's what
yep,
they're going to say in your blessing, that it's special direction just for you from God, that you should always serve in the church and always pay your tithing.
yep,
So, what
yep,
I think is going to be really fun is that, Kirsten, you remember your patriarchal blessing or parts of it, just not maybe not word for word, but I'm
yep,
very curious as I read mine, what is going to be exactly the same in yours. I think
yep,
there are going to be some similarities
especially
because
oh, absolutely. We had the same
patriarchs
patriarch.
tend to repeat themselves a little bit. Here's the other really interesting thing before we actually get into the actual blessing. They always want you to fast and pray before you
Yes.
go. Um,
Yep.
you should really be thinking and pondering about what the Lord wants you to hear, the message that he wants you to hear. And so you'll go into the patriarch's home. Usually they have a special room designated or an office where you will go into their home. And
Yep.
usually the patriarch's wife makes an audio recording of the blessing. And then the
Yep.
wife is the one that transcribes that audio into now probably a Word document or something like that. And then
Yep.
what happened for me is I got an unofficial copy, and then they would send me the finalized copy that was also attached to my church records and also
Yep.
filed with the church records in Salt Lake, so that if I ever lost it or wanted another copy, I could request one.
It's all digital now, by the way, because I did
Yeah.
when I was doing my research, it did have a page specifically on like how to do it digitally, and it says there should be no paper copies anymore at all. So,
Oh, that's because
yeah.
I don't want people comparing them.
So it does say that I went to it. It literally like it's kind of a step by step how to do it. And then also it says like the training, like which training they're supposed to use to like be able to teach them. Apparently there is a calling specifically for basically the church IT guy. It says like each ward should have this what's it called? It's like technology assistant technology trainer or something like that. That's a
Oh,
calling, and it's their job to show all of the leaders how to use the church website and specifically how to upload the patriarchal blessings apparently.
it's not that complicated to go to lds.org and make an account,
It
log in.
is if you're like 75, which our patriarch was in my eyes. I don't know how it is now. I was 13, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I thought he was like the oldest of old. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
They
how old he
always
was, but I thought they were in like, I thought he was like in his 80s or something. Maybe he wasn't that old, but to me, he was.
he was definitely in his 70s at least, but they
Yeah.
almost always call somebody wizened, like generally somebody who has
Yeah.
served as a past bishop or on the high council or as a past stake president. And, it
Yeah.
was it's a general like stepping stone to like the next thing that you do.
I was
If
gonna
you're
say, I
not,
thought our patriarch might have even been temple president for a while, but
he
that,
was,
or
I
maybe in
think.
the temple. Yeah. So, many, many very high, very spiritual callings under
Right,
his belt before he became
right.
the patriarch.
And if you're a patriarch, you're kind of on the same level as like a prophet, seer, and revelator almost, because you
Yeah.
are like telling the future for these people. You're revealing stuff to them. So
Yeah.
it's kind of a big deal. So I will tell you, many people know that after I resigned from the church, I had a burning ceremony, and I burned a I probably 90% of my Mormon things. There are a few little things that I hung on to and a few things that I found after the burning ceremony that I was like, oh my gosh, I would have burned this if I had known it was here. So I do have a little box of stuff that, of course, now I'm saving for content. So I did
Yeah.
burn my patriarchal blessing. But before I burned it, well, I had part of my burning ceremony was that I read the blessing out loud and had a discussion with my lovely partner about it and then
Mhm.
burned it. So then later I found the like extra copy of it, but I have lost it since then. So I will be reading from the transcript of the video that I made for my
Beautiful.
patriarchal blessing. Yeah.
I wish I had mine, but at one point I did have it memorized in case I lost it. Well, I was in debate and things like that, so I was already in the memorization of long speeches kind of mindset.
Yeah.
So I memorized mine in case I ever lost it. Because at that time, I think you had to call or to get it. You know, it wasn't just an online request like it is now to get a copy of
Right.
it. So I memorized it. That was, I mean, I'm 41, so however many years that is, 25, 35, 85, who knows? It was a long time ago. So I can't remember mine. But I feel like since we have the same patriarch, I'm sure there are common phrases and it will spark more knowledge of mine because that part of my brain, unfortunately, when me and Megan are talking, especially when we have similar people that we know, all of a sudden a memory will come up and I'm like, oh, you know. So
Yeah.
I probably will be like, oh, now I can remember it and recite it, or at least parts of it. So
All right.
please continue, Megan. I'm very excited to hear what the future was for you and see how accurate we
Yeah.
are at this point into your 50 years of life.
I also want to mention that a lot of people sort of they say it as a flex if they have a long patriarchal blessing.
Yes.
And mine was not that long. It was like a page and a half, I think. By the way, before I read my
Yes.
blessing, I would like to announce that our Ex Mormon Snark shop is officially open for business.
I'm so excited. And our
I'm
merch is
so
awesome.
excited. Our merch is so freaking cute.
By the time this airs, I probably will have all of the samples too.
Yes.
So if you haven't seen it already, I'm sure our next one, I'm going to be wearing our hoodie and our beanie and my cute trucker hat that I freaking love. Guys, give props to Megan. She is our little graphic designer. I just gave thumbs up and was like, yeah, I like that. Yeah, I like that. But Megan, you're fantastic. I adore you. And I can't wait to see what other stuff we come up with because what we have right now, I freaking adore. So
it's freaking cute. And also, don't forget to join us in February at Thrive. They're probably going to sell out. You guys need to buy your tickets if you're going to be in St. George.
yeah.
I think it's the third weekend in February. We will put the link in the description again. But we're going to have a little meet and greet table there, and I will have a little
sign
with a sign, and I will have a little laptop set up there where people can order the merch and have it just shipped right to their house. And I'm so excited.
Me too. We will have some things that we're just going to hand out, fun stuff, you know, like stickers and things like that, which I think is exciting. I love a good sticker.
Wait until you see the stickers. You're going to love the stickers.
They're so good. All right.
I can't wait.
Back to
All right.
patriarchal
Back
blessing.
to the patriarchal blessing. A couple things I want to mention, and one is that this guy did not know me. I didn't grow up in the area like you did. So
Yeah.
he wasn't in my ward. He wasn't somebody that I had ever talked to before this. And so it's not like he would have known my situation or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I sort of wanted to kind of like sit down with him and tell him. But I didn't because I trusted that he was getting divine inspiration from the Lord. And so I didn't do that. Also, I show a copy of the blessing like in this video that I'm doing, and it says that it's blessing number 180 that this person gave. So a lot of these patriarchs give a lot of blessings.
Yes, they do.
Sister Megan Connor, by virtue of the holy Melchizedek priesthood and office of patriarch which I hold, and in the name of Jesus Christ, I lay my hands upon your head and confer upon you your patriarchal blessing, to be a benefit, a guide, and a comfort to you throughout your life in accordance with your faithfulness. I gave my life to this church. I patterned my life after all of this stuff, and I didn't ever need to do that. And I denied my own instincts and my own desires and my own wishes and dreams and hopes for my life because I put it all underneath the umbrella of what I should do for the church.
As I like to say, you were shooting all over yourself.
Yes. And I put myself in many situations where I was mistreated or abused and stayed in those situations for way too long because
Yeah.
of church teachings.
Agree. 100%.
Things I never would have done if I hadn't believed that the church was true. So,
I agree.
okay. You are blessed with lineage blessings through the house of Ephraim, the son of Joseph, who was sold into Egypt by his brethren. You receive these blessings by virtue of your valiance in the pre-existence. Can we stop and talk about that for just a second?
Yep.
Because Mormons believe that we all existed in heaven before we came here, and that there was a war in heaven, and that those people who chose Jesus's side got to come to earth, and those who chose Satan's side just get to be disembodied evil spirits. And it was a thing that was talked about all the time, that the reason that you got born into God's true church is because you were valiant in the fight in the pre-existence.
Yeah.
And that there's a lot of horrible, racist, misogynist, horrible things about people who were not valiant in the pre-existence. And so they didn't get these kinds of blessings when they came here. It's another example of Mormon exceptionalism that I think is really gross.
Well, as you said that, I remembered a line from mine.
Oh.
It said, I was one of the most valiant spirits in heaven, which is why I am blessed with so much and given so much responsibility to help others also make it to the celestial kingdom.
Wow.
Oh, I
That's
just
a lot
got
of
to chill down
pressure,
by
Kirsten.
I remember that so well. I don't remember the line, if it was right after or around there. It also said I was given to this family because of their valiance as well. And we are to work together in serving God or bringing others to God. I don't remember what it exactly said, but it felt very heavy at the time, and definitely throughout my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just thinking to myself, I wonder if the church, I wonder what the church training is for patriarchs, and if they're encouraged to give people certain things in their blessing that will make them stay faithful, basically.
It might be. I don't know if they encourage them to read blessings like others' blessings before then to get kind of a template or a feeling. I don't know.
Yeah.
Those are really good questions, though.
Well, I do think that the stake president sort of like sits down with the patriarch and does give them like some examples of past blessings or whatever, you know.
Right.
And of course, the patriarch would have had their own. You can actually, if you have an account on LDS.org or FamilySearch.org, you can go look up the patriarchal blessings of your ancestors who have died if you want to. I no longer have access to that because all of those blessings were taken away from me.
Yeah, it's kind of funny too how you get copies of that. This is all on the church's website, how to do it. You have to have their birth date, their death date, their parents or your parents, and you have to prove that you are in fact one of their direct ancestors. You can't just like go on there and request anybody's blessing. So that is kind of funny to me that it's like you have to show your lineage and that you have the right basically to see this blessing.
Right. So you can't just go look up a famous person's like the Osmonds. I wonder what Donny Osmond says.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You will have a residency in Las Vegas, long-standing. Do you think it says he's a little bit country or is a little bit rock and roll? I mean, what if they got that mixed up?
And that's...
And it will only come to pass in the guidance and partnership with his sister.
That's right. Ugh, I don't like that at all. Whew.
Okay, so continue, please, Megan.
Yeah. So you receive these blessings by virtue of your valiance in the pre-existence and your willingness to accept the gospel in this life when taught to you by your parents and teachers in Sunday school and young women, and confirmed to you by the Holy Ghost as you have read and searched the scriptures.
That's nice.
So because I was compliant. I got lots of blessings.
Correct.
I commend you to the scriptures on a daily basis as you continue to seek education and obtain secular knowledge. Never let a day pass without prayer to your Father in heaven, expressing gratitude for these blessings that have come unto you through your lineage, and such blessings that shall flow unto you in accordance with your faithfulness.
I freaking
So
hate
this
that line.
this is all very general. This is all very general, like read your scriptures, say your prayers, stay faithful. I feel like it's very generic. I was really disappointed in my blessing.
I
I
know mine
remember,
talked a lot about me continuing my education consistently. So it said like throughout your life or something like that. But also it did talk about like secular knowledge. And it said I had been blessed with the ability to learn quickly and I needed to take advantage of that. So I
wow.
remember that it said like you have a quick mind and the ability to absorb knowledge quickly, something like that. And I needed to take advantage of that by consistently learning I need to use that in pursuit of both secular and spiritual education, again, for the benefit of others.
Right.
So I remember that because I thought maybe I would be a teacher or a professor or something like that. But it is one thing that made me feel like I always need to like learn more, get more education. Why I went, to college and then went to cosmetology school. I really thought it was my job to gain as much knowledge or licensing or whatever I could because I needed to be able to teach other people and just assumed at some point I would become some sort of teacher.
Yeah. So at the time that I got my blessing, it was only within a few years of me getting married. I think I had 2 kids at this time and I had not yet finished my bachelor's degree, but I think I was still working on it. So,
Right.
and people would ask me what I wanted to do with my degree. I majored in music and marketing. And I just would say, I don't know, hang it in the kitchen. I just want to be at home with my kids. I just never thought that I would have to work. I really just wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. But I thought, well, if I ever do have to work, I want to get a job that I like, which is why I got a degree in music, because I was like, well, I'll be a piano teacher or whatever. But at this time that I got this blessing, I was not yet a teacher. I hadn't even gotten my bachelor's degree yet. I mean, I was a piano teacher. I had taught piano lessons and all that stuff, but whatever. Anyway, be happy in living the gospel and be willing to share the blessings of the gospel with others by way of testimony and by way of example, by living each word of wisdom, which is a reference to the word of no smoking, no drinking, all of that stuff. And by each of the Lord's commandments as best you understand them.
Mine says, be sure to live the word of wisdom to the very letter. I remembered that because I was like, why? Am I going to become an alcoholic?
It's coming up. It's coming up, Kirsten. That
do you
phrase
get the
is in
same
mind.
thing?
I do. The same exact. Yes.
Awesome.
Be earnest in seeking the Lord and diligent in seeking his will, and continually draw near unto him, and he will draw near unto you. For the Lord does love you and has concern for you and knows you by name.
Oh, I had that. He knows you by name. I had that.
That was something that it was a concept about God that I really absorbed and wanted to believe, because, growing up being in a family where we had the dynamics that we did, I felt very unseen. I felt very unheard, and I felt unloved. And so the idea that God knows my name and cares about me, actually cares about my experience and has concern for me, that was something that gave me a lot of comfort, that I thought about a lot. And it was really, really hard losing my faith and also losing that feeling that somebody who is bigger than me cares about me and my experience.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me to deconstruct.
Yeah. I think I had a similar experience in that it brought me a lot of comfort as well, thinking, okay, God does know who I am. Even though I'd always believed that, hearing it confirmed.
Yeah.
Um, I think the older I got, by the time I left the church, that wasn't really a hard thing for me to deconstruct as much, because so many things had happened in my life that I thought, if there is a God, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, if he knows who I am, how dare he? I already felt like he had forsaken me basically at that point. That wasn't a hard thing, because I thought, there's no way, if he knows my name and knows what I'm going through, he gives a shit, you know?
Yeah. Part of Mormon doctrine too is that in that pre-earth life that we agreed to all the challenges that we were going to go through when we got
Right.
here, and the test was whether we were going to stay faithful. And so, deconstructing my faith and that concept of God like giving us struggles because it would teach us exactly what we needed to learn and what to overcome. When I think about my child essay, I'm like, well, F you.
I feel like I did a lot of things just based on faith, which I'm sure you did as well. And so when things didn't turn out, I thought, why? If you are all knowing and you knew this was going to happen, why did you make it feel like it was the right thing when it seems so obviously like it was the wrong decision? When I
Right.
knew in my heart this was not going to work out. Specifically, let's say my marriage. That's just an
Mm-hmm.
easy example. Like I broke off our engagement multiple times. And I kept feeling, I shared with Megan, I had gotten a blessing, that I had met my partner, and my ex-husband had gotten a blessing with me in the room saying, your future wife is here, and she don't, and so both of us, when we got married, it really was like on blind faith, I feel like. And so then when it didn't work out, I was really mad, because I was like, I knew in my heart this wasn't right. I didn't want to do it. And you gave me all of these priesthood blessings and signs from people I thought had more knowledge of God's will than mine. And so I went through with it. And then it fell apart and caused so much heartache, for me and my children, and ongoing. It feels nice to be able to share it with someone that truly understands those feelings, because so many
Yeah.
people tell you you're wrong, or you're bitter, or you're angry, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And it's like, I guarantee you there are people that are still faithful in the church that have had these same experiences and thoughts and feelings, but they just can't admit it to themselves, because it
Right.
is so hard to mentally go there,
Yeah. And when I was a
Yeah.
faithful person, when you were talking about like when stuff didn't work out and you would be like, well, why, God? Well, I would gaslight myself into saying, well, there's something God wanted me to learn from this
Yeah.
experience. So even though I married somebody that, ended up ended up being a terrible choice, I
Yeah.
just always kept telling myself, look how much you've learned about communication and about relationships and about what is right and what's not right, and look how much that you've learned. And so that I would always take it as like, well, God wanted me to learn that. It
Yeah.
just like, yes. And I will agree with you that people who are still in the church look at us leaving the church and they say, oh, you're just bitter, you're blaming all your problems on God. And I'm
You're
like,
right.
no, I'm not blaming my problems on God. I'm blaming these ideas that like we trusted that there was some kind of a cosmic plan, and there really wasn't this whole time. And that's
Yeah.
like being lied to sucks.
Where I get, I guess, more of my anger or bitterness or whatever they want to say is really knowing that it came from a con. It was 100% a con, and from a
Right.
con man, and people are continuing to carry on that con. That's what made me mad. Is it always felt wrong in my body. We've talked about how many times I'm like, but why? This doesn't make sense. But
Right.
why? And then realizing, as I got older, I really started to realize how awful people can be, specifically when it came to money. And when I started to realize how much money the church has, how much money Brigham Young had, how much Joseph manipulated people to give him money, land, all of the things, I'm like, this is a con because people are awful and are greedy. And
Yeah.
people like to harm women, and people, and that was really more where my deconstruction stemmed from, was all of this doctrine that I've lived my life from stemmed from a greedy predator.
Yes.
And so none of it is true. Because they even tell you, if Joseph Smith wasn't a prophet, then none of it's true. Correct. Joseph Smith was not a prophet, so none of it is true. The end.
Right.
Hard stop. Hard stop.
Yeah. And by the way, if you have not yet seen it, on my Third Verse channel, I have an episode with Ganesh Cherian, who wrote a topical biography of Joseph Smith. And we talked all about his 42 arrests and all of the court cases and trouble and his very extensive rap sheet. So if you still think Joseph Smith was a prophet of God, maybe go watch that one and just wonder to yourself why he would be accused of treason and arson and receiving stolen goods and things like that.
This was not made up. This was not persecution. These are actual acts that he did. And it was not in the name of God. It was because he was a terrible human.
No, and you know what's funny? The other funny thing is that on the church website, they say Joseph was never convicted. Well, that's true most of the time, because he would use habeas corpus to get out of the jurisdiction before they could prosecute him, and then they could never get him to come back in. So, okay. You are blessed to have goodly parents. Long pause. And I commend you to and I commend you to counsel with them and with your kin and loved ones, and where appropriate with your bishop in making important decisions, that you may, by virtue of your faithfulness, make the correct choices that will help lead you to eternal life. You are blessed with many gifts and talents, and I promise you that as you use your talents freely in the service of the Lord, that he will guide and direct you and protect you and help you to obtain your righteous goals.
I had something very similar, but it did name some of my talents, including music. I know was in there.
Yep. I felt really manipulated by this because I knew that I had musical talent, and I knew that the church needed musical people. And I always felt guilty saying no to anybody that asked me to perform or sing or play or lead or whatever, because I know that there aren't a lot of people who have those abilities. And I always felt like it was my responsibility to take on that role, no matter when or how or whatever people asked me.
I felt the exact same way. You're going to laugh. I'm going to share this just because it's kind of funny. I got asked to conduct a lot, especially at youth activities, because I was probably one of two in the ward that knew how to do it. you know? So I would be asked to conduct a lot, conduct the music. And sometimes I would be really mad because I didn't like my outfit or something, and I didn't want to stand up in front of everyone. I was a teenager, and I was like, oh, then I'm going to stand up and everyone's going to see my stupid outfit, or I thought my hair looked weird or something. But I always said yes, just like you, because I felt like if I was asked to, there was no one else to do it, or this was a talent I had been blessed with, and I needed to share it. So yeah, that was just my funny little anecdote. It's hard. It's hard to be 13 years old and be asked to stand up and lead the music when there's adults or other teens, your peers in there. I know I got asked once at youth conference, which is all of the stake youth, and I was really embarrassed,
in front of everybody.
Yeah.
I also, my very first calling when I was 14 was to lead the singing for the whole congregation. So I had that every single Sunday for 4 years.
Yeah.
The one good part about it, though, was that I got to sit on the stand, so I didn't have to sit with my family.
And you got the comfy chairs, because the stand had the cushy and not the
Mhm.
like hard benches. So, I
Yep.
mean, that's good. I didn't mind
Yeah.
playing the piano as much because I kind of liked playing the piano because I could sit behind there and
Yep.
dissociate a little bit. Like I didn't listen to the lesson very much.
100%. I loved playing the piano too because I was like, I
Right?
can just hide back here. Nobody will pay attention to me. No one's going to call on me for anything.
Right? And sometimes I would have my best friend come sit with me too. So we would just like sit there and talk and like nobody could see us because we're behind the piano.
Yep.
So that I didn't mind. But yeah,
Yeah.
hated conducting.
Oof. That was definitely
Yeah.
not my favorite.
Talking about
Please.
music. You know the
Yes.
things that they would like put the hymn numbers
The
on?
little number. Yeah.
It's a little number. My good friend that I went to lunch with the other day, shout out to you. She went to a Mormon wedding recently and they were married in the chapel.
Okay.
And then the reception was in the gym or something, but they were in the chapel for some reason. And one of her also ex-Mormon friends went up and changed the numbers to the hymns. It was like 69, 420, 666. And I was like, she took a picture and she showed it to me. I was laughing so hard. I was like, yes, this is the
That is
energy we
hilarious.
need.
I love it.
So if I'm ever in a chapel again, I'm totally going to steal that and definitely do it.
Well, now I feel like I need to make a poster for our store that is similar to that.
I agree. That'd be hilarious. Yeah. I love that.
You are blessed to set righteous goals, and I commend you to continue to plan and prepare for greater blessings as you continue to grow in the power of doing good. Also, at this time, I should mention I had not yet been through the temple. So, this was
There you
like,
go.
keep going on the path. You are blessed with knowledge of the plan of salvation and with the prayers of the the faithful to help support you. And that just always makes me think of like my parents constantly saying to me, even now today, like that they're praying for me. And I know what that means. Please bless Megan that she will come back to church.
Oh, correct.
I further bless you that you will be able to have the time and the talents to share with others, and bless you with the ability to exercise your faith in behalf of your fellow men and serve with compassion those whom the Lord would have you serve. Never hesitate to accept a calling from your bishop or priesthood leader to serve in the church. Never.
I had that
Never.
line as well. Yeah.
And so I will tell you, I took that very literally, and I literally accepted every single calling that was issued to me until 2020, when I finally said no, because I was like, you don't want me to teach. But here's what's interesting that I found out since then. And actually, people kind of hinted this to me, at different times in my Mormon life, that there are lots of people who do not accept callings. And
yes,
a lot of times they have a hard time finding people to serve in the church, especially for some of the more demanding callings. And I can attest to you that throughout my service in the church, I almost always had at least 2 callings. In addition to being a visiting teacher, where I would have to go visit for, 3 or 4 sisters once a month to see how they were doing. And sometimes I was given sisters that were very, very challenging. And this entire time, I was having babies and raising children virtually alone because my spouse was no help. And often I had to take my kids with me when I would go to visit people. Often I would have to take them with me to go fulfill my church callings. I was always taking them to church by myself every single Sunday. And so a typical Sunday for me was a nightmare from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. essentially. At one point, I was a Relief Society teacher. I was the ward chorister. I was a ward missionary in a ward where we baptized 32 people in 1 year.
Wow.
And I was also a visiting teacher. So I would get up, get all my kids ready for church, gather all the stuff that I had for my lesson, go to church, sit through sacrament, wrestle through sacrament meeting with all 6 of my kids for an hour and 15 minutes, and then go to teach my lesson, while sometimes being interrupted by my kids coming in or being brought into me, needing diaper changes, needing whatever, because I didn't have a spouse to help me out at church. And then being a ward missionary, I would have to go 2 or 3 nights a week to teach a new member lesson to somebody who had just been baptized, and frequently have to take my kids with me. So like, I accepted callings to the detriment of my own family, to taking me away from doing things for my own family because of this patriarchal blessing.
Yep. I had very similar experiences. I used to joke that Easy Like Sunday Morning was not written by anybody that had children and went to Mormon sacrament meeting.
No,
because
and I
it's the
used to
worst.
say, whoever said that Sunday was the day of rest is full of shit.
Oh yeah. Well, also
That was
when you were
not me.
talking about, you know, accepting every calling, at one point I was given the visiting teaching assignment to a woman in my ward that had done and said some very extremely hurtful things to me, to the point that the Relief Society president and the bishop knew about it because I had brought it up, and just like I was having a hard time specifically because of this individual. And then I was assigned to be her visiting teacher. And I was really upset about it. I did not want to spend time with this individual because every time I saw them, something extremely hurtful was said or done. And I said yes. And I said it was fine because I was told that you accept every calling. You do it, you know, everything you're supposed to. So, yeah, just going to show again, you assume it's like God's divine intervention or whatever to your mental health or physical health detriment. So
yeah, and we will have to do a whole episode on visiting teaching because it's such a nice concept. But I also, during this time when I had lots of kids and I was busy, and you know, I was always either in school or doing some kind of a job. I was never just a stay-at-home mom because I couldn't be. I was the only one bringing a significant amount of income into the house, which, considering the things I was doing and the money that I was making, that's really sad. But at this time, I also had a visiting teaching sister I was assigned to who had a liver transplant, and she needed significant help and care. Like, she needed to be taken to doctor's appointments several times a week. And she had a son that she couldn't really take care of. And it was a burden. I'm not kidding when I say it was a burden to serve her. But I did it. I did it willingly because I really did care and I did care about her and love her.
yeah.
But it was a huge ask for somebody in my position. Why could they not have given that assignment to somebody who was a stay-at-home mom or whose kids had all left the house? And the thing is, there's this like underlying, I don't know, unspoken principle that like, oh, you know, this sister can handle this challenge, or God is giving her this challenge so that she'll grow and she'll be better off for it. And I guarantee you that the bishops have absolutely no clue what it's like to be basically a single mom in the church, you know?
Of course. So. Again, there's so much of it that you feel like, since this was so specific to you and so important, this is going to be the one blessing recorded for all time in the church records, because it's that important that it makes you do things that you normally would not do, that you know in your heart and in your body and in your mind that this is not okay. It's very difficult, and you do it anyway because of this magical blessing you got years ago.
And I definitely had this idea in my mind too, that like my posterity was going to have access to my blessing, and they were going to look at my life and say, did she live up to her potential and her blessing? And like, my parents were there with me when I got my blessing. And so they heard all of that stuff, and they would use that to say like, well, your blessing says, you know, so you probably should.
Same. And it's like, how screwed up is that too? It's just another level of manipulation.
Exactly. It's another tool of manipulation.
Yep.
Ugh. Just
Ah,
another example to me that I think Joseph Smith really was a master manipulator, because he knew all of these little
oh
tricks of
yeah,
like, here's how we can get him to be more faithful and to be more loyal and all that. Anyway, hate that.
absolutely.
Stay active that you may have your faith and your testimony grow stronger within you and be able to complete your mission upon the earth. For you were given a mission at the time of your birth, and I bless you with the perception to recognize opportunities to fulfill your mission with honor. Here comes Kirsten. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Live the word of wisdom to the very letter. Keep the Sabbath
Aw.
day holy and attend to your duties and visit the holy temple of the Lord.
I had that exact same line, except at the end where it says, visit the holy temple of the Lord. It says, where you will be sealed to your future spouse who you have chosen.
Well, I'm sure I didn't get that line because I was already married. People based hugely important life decisions on this fortune telling bullshit, and it has
Yep.
ruined a lot of people's lives. Visit the holy temple of the Lord with a contrite heart, and you will receive many revelations and see how miracles have happened in your life. And know that miracles will continue to happen as you remain diligent and remain true and faithful to your covenants. So I literally thought that I was entitled to receive revelation and miracles
Yeah.
in my life.
Me
And
too.
there were some times when that could have gotten me into big trouble, but it's a rabbit hole for another time. They told us we were special, but we weren't. We were, just not in the way that they told us we were. Anyway.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Almost done. Share freely with your family and kin the principles of the gospel and be a teacher and a savior upon Mount Zion.
Oh, I had that too.
Literally
Yeah.
told me to be a savior. Now, I found out later that that's sort of like an LDS euphemism for going to do work in the temple for dead people, that you were
Oh,
being a
okay.
savior to them when you did that. But I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so I'm going to be a teacher and a savior, though? Like, am I
Yeah.
going to die? Um, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just
Yeah.
super weird language to use. I don't know, when telling
See,
somebody their
I thought of
fortune.
it as missionary work, like, because I had that same phrase, and Savior on Mount Zion. I took it as I would do a lot of missionary work, or I would bring people to the church, or
Yeah.
So
So when I was faced with the choice of continuing my singing career or getting my teaching certificate,
yeah,
I read my patriarchal blessing and I was like, I guess I'm supposed to be a teacher.
yeah,
And it was a really fulfilling career. Don't get me wrong. I absolutely loved being a teacher,
yeah,
but I also felt like I, yeah, I mean, I gave up performing mainly because my husband wasn't supportive enough for me to make that work. And I had too many kids and there were lots and lots of reasons. But I
yeah,
also felt like that's not what God wanted me to do with my life, obviously, because it says in the blessing, I'm going to be a teacher. So
right,
I felt
yeah,
like if I continue to try to perform, I would be going against what God wanted me to do. So
yeah, yeah.
that's why we're going to have a 2-woman show and become performers,
Hey,
because God will not be mocked.
right, exactly.
All right. I bless you with health and strength and the ability to accomplish the association with good people, with many friends, and have friends raised up in time of need to assist you in accomplishing your righteous goals.
I had the exact same line.
I did not have many friends, though. I have to tell you, like I would have a good friend every once in a while
Yeah,
at short periods in my life, but I never have had many friends. And I think part of that is actually a good thing. It's because I have boundaries. But,
yeah,
and also I am totally intolerant of gossipy women.
yeah.
gossipy, petty women. And so I
Yeah.
don't have a lot of good friends, and I never have had. But, I took that literally to mean like, oh, and, all of your sisters in the Relief Society are your friends. But as I found out, especially when I left the church, that was not the case. They were not actually my friends.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. I mean, I had a good group of friends. There was a large youth program in my ward and everything. So I always felt like I had a really big group of friends, but as I've gotten older, it has shrunk, and I think the same reason. I've had a lot of boundaries, but I took that as I would have a lot of friends that were members of the church and would raise me up and everything. So I did kind of try to keep my close friends in the LDS circle, which I think is a big part of Mormonism that every true believing member will deny. But it is othering,
It is.
feeling like I was supposed to hang out with other members of the church. Every best friend I had, well, that's not true. In middle school, I had a really good group of friends that none of them were LDS. So I take that back. But I do know in high school and at BYU and into my adult years, at first, pretty much the only people I would spend my time with were members of the church. And I took it because I'm supposed to surround myself with people that are like-minded, that have that same belief system, so we could inspire each other, so to speak.
Yeah.
Stupid.
These blessings, together with each and every blessing which the Lord may see fit to grant you within this life and through the eternities, I pronounce upon you, together with the blessing of coming forth in the morning of the first resurrection.
Yep.
In accordance with your faithfulness.
Yep.
And so humbly, by the authority of the Melchizedek priesthood and in the name of Jesus Christ. The end.
Jeebus Christ. Yeah.
Before we go, I have to mention this thing.
Yes.
The very first patriarch of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints was Joseph Smith's own father, Joseph Smith Sr.
Yes.
And he used to charge for patriarchal blessings.
Yes, he did.
Not universally every single time, but people were paying between $1 and $5 for a blessing, which doesn't seem like a lot. However, in an area and a time when cash was sparse and people did do a lot of bartering, especially in the Nauvoo period, that's the equivalent of like $40 on the low end and $150 on the high end. So if you can imagine somebody, slipping $100 bill to the patriarch, like, give me a good blessing. Okay, dude.
And I mean, that just shows when people are like, you shouldn't, dude, in the temple, it even says we don't sell our tokens for money or whatever.
You can buy anything in this world with money.
But it's like right there, like having the gift of being a patriarch, which, as we discussed, is a super, super high special calling. And then being well, how much you got? It's like,
yeah,
that's exactly what they're saying in the temple ceremony, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it is a very well-respected calling, even nowadays. Like people aspire to that calling because it means that you're wise and you're sort of an oracle. And, it's one of the reasons why Chad Daybell set himself up to give patriarchal blessings, because it's like this special spiritual gift that you have where you can tell people's future.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's so mind-blowing. And what I was going to say about that line with, rising up in the morning of the first resurrection, my parents, neither one of them had that line in theirs, and me and my sister both did, because we were from the same patriarch as Megan was.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, oh my gosh, that is such an incredible line. Like, both of you were given that. You both are so spiritual and everything. We thought it was so special. And then come to hear Megan, who obviously isn't as spiritual as me, also got that line. Just kidding.
That's right. I definitely was not as spiritual as you, Kirsten. I did break the commandments. So
Although, to be fair, I think I've made up for it in my 10 years out of the church.
Well, I committed the sin next to red rum when I was in the church. So, and it
Well,
didn't matter
Megan,
that it was coercive. It did not matter because I had my part in that too, as we have learned from Spencer Kimball and also from other people who like to troll us in the comments.
well, I mean, before I officially resigned from the church, I moved in with my boyfriend, who is now my husband. But we lived together for like 3
Kirsten.
years before we got married. I know. And believe me, we did a lot of things married couples do. Like a lot.
Like
I
he,
was only like
he would
29. So
like he would take out the trash.
he would take out the trash and do the dishes.
Oh my gosh.
Mm.
Kirsten.
Oh, I was 31,
Well,
but still, you know, all those marital things need to be done, and he did it.
yeah,
He did it.
I love that for you.
Oh, me
I
too.
love that a lot.
So, I mean, I'm just saying I definitely did the same things that you did, just later in life, I guess.
The thing is, I think, I think that, well, I mean, first of all, let me just say that, being essayed as a child makes it almost impossible for you to truly give consent when you're
Yes.
an adult until you get
Yeah.
those wounds healed. But also, I just think it's way more prominent than people want to admit in the church. It's just so prevalent. It happens all the time. And,
Yeah.
Women get excommunicated for it. Men get promoted after they finish the repentance process, and it's just so
Yeah.
prevalent. I don't know why it's even a thing that people talk about or care about. But
I agree. 100%. Last thing I want to share really quick. Also in my patriarchal blessing, it said I would be blessed to bring many spirits to this earth that are waiting in line, knowing that I was going to bring righteous spirits to the earth and be able to train them up in righteousness.
yeah,
So that made me feel like I was supposed to have a lot of babies too. I just wanted to add that in because
that is
manipulative again.
manipulative and horrible, and also a rabbit hole for another time, like the whole procreation program in the church and everything. We have so much to talk about, Kirsten.
Oh, we didn't even get to like half the things I was going to share. So.
Oh, I know. And we didn't get to half the things. Like I had all of this history that I had researched and everything, which I guess we'll have to do another time when we're not digging into our own trauma.
Yeah, I agree. I was going to share about my friends who was told to go on a mission and speak the language of her mother. But yeah, and she didn't. She met a guy, she wanted to get married, and she had a lot of turmoil over that. So I wanted to share that because there was a way she justified it. But anyways.
And there have been so many people that were promised they would serve a foreign mission and then didn't, just all kinds of stuff like that.
All sorts of stuff.
Your reading was inaccurate.
This might have to be a part 1 of 2. We'll see.
It might be. Yeah. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget to stay snarky. Love you. Bye.
Love you too. Bye.